Craziness.
Okay, so here we go. Guys, this is my friend Sheila Fazoni. Sheila and I are direct to Maria. We're sideline sisters. We didn't know each other, and we've become really good friends. And I love her. I love learning from her. She is a wealth of knowledge. Anytime I feel like I suck in this business, and yes, I feel like that from time to time, I can hop on to a recording or a Zoom of Sheila's and I feel re-energized. I'm like, okay, I can do this. So Sheila, I know there's people in here that don't know you, don't know your story. So let's just kick off with you introducing yourself and how did all this Thrive stuff start?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on. And I apologize if you hear my dogs in the background. So they are locked out there, but that doesn't mean you're not going to hear them. So anyway, I actually started back in November of 2013, and it was simply because Maria picked up the phone and asked me if I was still having head discomfort, which I was. And she said, you know what? I think I've got a product that'll help you. And if you love it, I have a business opportunity we could do together. I'll tell you right now that I quickly shut her down on the business opportunity side. I'm like, you know what, girl, I was working Monday through Friday as a para with emotional behavior disorder kiddos at a local elementary school. I was doing jewelry parties at night. My kids were 10 and 13 at the time with the busiest, craziest sports schedules. So honestly, like the thought of adding one more thing to my plate was insane. I was like, no, that's not happening. And so, but I wanted to support a friend. I thought, well, what if it works? Kind of philosophy. So I actually ordered a month's supply as a customer and I split it with my husband, Scott. And I was a day one thriver. I loved the all day energy, super focused, like came home from work that day and actually made dinner, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but I was so tired by the time I'd get home from work that making dinner was not usually an option. It was usually fast food or convenience food. So, fast forward to day 10, I hadn't had any head discomfort in 10 days, loving that all day energy, super focused. I was able to stay asleep at night, which I didn't even think was a problem. I thought it was normal to be up for a couple hours in the middle of the night. And my husband didn't really notice. He was drinking a lot of Mountain Dew. And so he really didn't notice till about day 10. He came home and said he hadn't had any elbow discomfort in 3 days, which was crazy. He was an electrician, had a lot of elbow issues. And I had noticed he wasn't sleeping on the couch when he got home from work and he was able to fall asleep at night. So with our results, I thought, you know what, if this is happening for us, how many people can we help? You want to say something, Amber? Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something. So, that is really when the thought actually entered my head of doing the business, and Maria had already planted that seed, So, and it was a Sunday night, and I remember Maria reaching out to me, and she said, "Hey, Sheila, are you ready to join me yet?" And like I said, I was already having those thoughts, and I'm like, well, maybe on Tuesday. So I was putting her off on this Sunday night. And the reason being is that it was all, I knew I was going to have to reach out to my warm market. I was going to have to share something, which made me vulnerable, right? To share something and someone tell me no that I loved and cared about. But I knew I loved the product and I knew I wanted to share it. I just wasn't quite sure how I was going to do that. And that Sunday night, Maria said, Sheila, I need you for a bonus. And I joined her. I clicked that button and I actually purchased, I think, a 400 pack to get me going and have some product on hand because, like I said, Scott and I had split that first pack. So I was almost out of product. And I never looked back. Like I'm telling you, like when starting this business was scary, I felt vulnerable, but at the same time, I had Maria in my corner, and that's how we've all been trained to lead our people is by, she picked up the phone, she texted me, she said, hey, who do you got to get me on the phone with today? She constantly reaching out to me, which planted us that, you know what? I need to be getting people on the phone with Maria. That's what she was teaching me by saying these things. And so I remember her reaching out to me and saying, who do you got to get on the phone with me tomorrow? And saying, you know what, I have 2 people for tomorrow. And I had nobody. Like I totally white lied to Maria. But I knew saying that I was going to have 2 people to get on the phone with her the next day. And that's exactly what I did. And, starting, it was all about stealing my own time. Like I said at the beginning, like crazy busy sports schedules, right? Like, and constantly running between work, between doing jewelry parties in addition to this, between my kids' sports. I would get up early. I would go to bed late. When I got off work, I literally would sit in my car for 10, 20 minutes and respond to any messages that I had sent from, responses that I had gotten from the night before's messages, from the earlier's messages. I worked at a school. I couldn't work while I was at work, so I need to be doing that. Then on the way home from work, I was picking up the phone and I was calling friends. I was calling people and saying, hey, you know what? I've been on this product. I feel amazing. I think this would benefit you. And I looked for people's pain points, like what issues do people have that I can solve? Because I truly felt like we were a solution, and we're a solution to people's problems. And so you need to know what those pain points are. And I tell you, 95% of the people that are around you are seriously exhausted and tired. So that energy piece alone is perfect for the majority of the people around you. So, we ran for those bonuses. I hit VIP. I'm so sorry, but I hit VIP 800. I missed VIP 1600 by one promoter. Literally, I was too stubborn because I was in a business prior where you had to spend money to make money. And so I was too stubborn to switch Scott over to a promoter and purchase a pack. That wasn't going to happen because I wasn't going to get myself locked into financial things that I couldn't do at the time. So, hindsight, obviously, if I would have spent $100 back then, I would have made, another 660 in bonuses, but, that's not where my head was at. So, but I kept reaching out, kept plugging away, and continue to grow our organization. And it just exploded. It was a bunch of like-minded people that wanted to feel better, and we had a solution.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I love that we are a solution to people's problems. Cause I know I've always reached out to pain points. I know Chastity had posted basically a pain point when I reached out to her. And, but I don't know if I've ever fully heard that we are a solution to people's problems, so I love that. I wrote that down. Okay. So let's fast forward because you're 200K, you're a millionaire recipient, you're 8-figure earner, you have a whole bunch of awards behind your head. I think, is there a GOAT award back there? I know there's top PPA awards.
No GOAT, PPA, 8-figure, Lavelle millionaire, and what are I don't know. Like there is 7 of them back there, but
I just know you've gotten a lot of glass.
Yeah.
Years that I've known you.
Always working.
And you don't get that from sitting on your, and you're always working and you're consistent. So let's talk now. A lot of people are like, well, I've been here for a few years. How do you keep going? Have you switched gears? Have you done anything different? Or are you just still doing the exact same thing? I know everything changes for us over the years.
It does. And you know what? I think social media has grown so much that we really have to, change our focus, not just to, first of all, I meet people out and about all the time when I'm traveling, when I go to the store, like it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm out and about, I'm making connections. First, I can be sitting at a nail salon and I'm listening for pain points of someone to say they're exhausted, someone to say they have, head discomfort, someone to say this or that. I'm always wanting to lose weight. Now we have such a great solution for weight loss, And so I'm always listening for those pain points and I make connections. I always get them connected to me on social media. Why? Because my doors are open. If you go to my social media, I'm a thriver. That this has impacted my life. That I have now a before and after. Otherwise, I was always sharing other people's before and afters. I really, at the beginning of this year, made one of my goals was to really feel present and for people to feel my presence on social media, meaning living my Thrive life out loud and people noting that not only, was it a weight loss piece, but also the energy I have, the focus, all the things, and making a point to make sure that the things I'm sharing on social media can correlate to my Thrive life, because I don't think I was doing that great of a job of that. I always posted on social media. My doors have always been open. I don't think there was a question that people knew I was a thriver. The question is how was I making people feel by reading my posts. And so I've been super, super intentional. And I feel like I've had a lot of growth in that area. And we're constantly growing. We're constantly learning. I'm constantly also in groups. Like, I mean, I love my dogs. I have 4 different types of dogs. So I get into groups. I make I friend request people in those groups as I, comment on those posts. I connect with people. It's constantly about connecting and being a solution. And that's what I feel like. And it's a constant process, right? Like I am always preaching about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because I feel like if you're not doing intentional daily activity, you can just be spinning your wheels. So you need to be intentional with your activity. And that means writing down what you're doing and reporting that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you feel like you're in a slump and you're not growing, increasing that activity, double it. Like I've always felt like when I was lacking growth throughout my business, I mean, I've been in business for almost 10 years. There's points where I felt like, oh my gosh, like what isn't happening? I didn't look to my downline. I didn't look to my upline. I looked to myself, had that heart to heart in the mirror and thought, what piece of the puzzle am I not doing? Am I not connecting people to Maria? Am I not connecting, or sideline sister? Am I not connecting? Am I not reaching out to people? Am I not following up? Am I not adding people to my list? Because if you're not adding people to your list, you're going to feel stuck. Am I not posting on social media? It's all about having that heart to heart in the mirror. And when I don't know, like this may be aging me a bit, but I remember when I was a kid and I got a gift for Christmas, a puzzle. And I got this puzzle. And guess what? If one piece would have been missing, this no longer would have been a frameable puzzle. It was actually of myself. My uncle had gotten it for me. It was a picture of me. If I was missing a piece, it wouldn't look quite right. It wouldn't work quite right, right? So I think of our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and our daily income producing activities as a puzzle. And so if you're missing a piece, you're going to feel stuck. You're going to feel frustrated. You got to constantly be doing the things because we grow by planting those seeds. Things don't happen overnight. I was the queen of follow-up. I mean, I remember Starlin Scrivener and I were actually talking about this at the mastermind at the ranch this past week, is that, you know what? I reached out to her like 16 times before she joined me. 16 times. Now, looking back, like things I could have improved, if I would have picked up the phone, I probably would have killed about 10 of those reach outs in one phone call, but we live and learn, right? Like that's where I was at. My comfort level was messaging people, getting the response and converting them to the phone. And sometimes, so when you keep responding via message, think about if you connected them to your upline leadership, you could shave off about 10 of those messages. So it's constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly reaching out. And also one of my my newest goals is really about being really intentional with my customers, because we know our best customers make our best promoters. So you have to be constantly painting that picture to your customers that there is an income opportunity here, that not only can they refer to and get their product free, they also have an income opportunity. And that is done through connecting them through your upline leadership. Let your upline leader share their story, paint the possibilities. You don't have to do all this on your own. And that's the great thing about this business. I didn't learn to do this. I don't even think I did a call for my team till I was 12K, which was about just like 35 days into the business. I had hit my 12K rank. But our team was growing so fast. Like I didn't know anything. I didn't have this comfort level, but I learned by connecting people to Maria, listening to what she was telling people, and then letting her convert, following up after I connected them, and then converting them to, a customer or promoter. Like it's constant follow up. Your fortune is in your follow up. And that's what we have to do that every single day. That's why 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a thing. It's a thing because it works. And when you're starting, guess what? That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 can be doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Like you can do more than that as you're building your business. But this is a business that you can build in the nooks and crannies of your day, but you need to be intentional with what you're doing every single day.
I love that. Okay. I have to touch on when you said about Starlin, if I had gotten her on the phone, but I will tell you, so in hindsight, we can't second guess anything, right? But Maria did get me on the phone first, and it still took 12 plus messages after the phone call. So like, you just never know, and I will say, guys, to remember that like, we are top leaders with top leaders in our organization. And those people still took 12, 16 messages plus phone calls. Like, don't give up. stay consistent and stay in that follow-up, like Sheila said. Also, I want to touch on, I just lost it. I don't know what it was. Anyway, okay, I'll come back to it. But talking about, somebody had asked, and we'll jump to this question. When you talk about connecting in the nail salon, so when you hear their pain point, what do you say to connect them to you?
Oh, like if someone was talking, maybe they're exhausted all the time. I will say, you know what? I used to be exhausted all the time too. I didn't, are you looking for a solution? Because honestly, or I will tell them, I used to be exhausted all the time too. And I'll be like, hey, are you on social media? Let's connect. I will continue to talk and have a conversation and then always connect them on my social media. Because here's the thing, like people will talk about being tired and exhausted. They will talk about wanting to lose. They'll talk about all the things. And you just have to put that smile on when you're out in public, be friendly, make eye contact. I tell you, like, I get more people start conversations with me because I am welcoming to people. Like I welcome conversations. I chat with people. Like I'm not, and I don't jump necessarily right into Thrive because honestly, typically to get to those pain points, I'm usually having a conversation with people prior. It could be about where they're going, why they're getting their nails done. Like people like to volunteer information, but you do have to be welcoming and not be afraid, because here's the thing, like, how do you feel when someone starts a conversation with you? It makes you feel good, right? Like if people make eye contact, if they smile at you, if you see someone walking and they say hi, like I honestly, Scott and I went to Buffalo Wild Wings for dinner the other night. And when we were walking out, a lady said hi to me, but I was completely oblivious to, like, I wasn't making like Scott and I were kind of having a conversation. So I was oblivious. I felt bad. I said hi, but I was like 3 feet past her when I said hi. Like, I feel bad about that. So I usually try to have my head held high, walk not with my head in my phone when I'm walking past people, and I smile and I say hi. And if they don't say hi back, oh well, like I'm the friendly person that's going to say hi to you. So it's really keeping not only your social media open for business, but also yourself, because you are your best salesperson. You have a DFT on that people are dying to ask you about. Like, and if you're not smiling and welcoming, they're not going to ask you about it. They're not going to ask you what that is.
Well, and I love, so ideas on connecting to people, guys, because I remember this, and I should have learned from Chastity from the get-go, but I was like, why is she doing that? But we would be out and about and she would, oh, are you on social media? And I was so ingrained. Or Paul used to say, get the free account, get the free account, get their email, get their email, get their email, which you want to do. But I didn't quite understand the connecting on social media part yet. And so I got all these free accounts, had all these emails, and it takes forever. They don't respond. But if they're connected on social media, then they're seeing your life. Like they may not want to buy your product yet, but they're seeing your life. They're seeing you thrive out loud. And then eventually they're like, well, what's that? And so like I connect to people just talking, just hang out. Like, hey, I love connecting. Are you on social media? Like I do that when I'm on trips. I do it at the nail salon. Like you said, I know in the beginning, just for me, things I did wrong, right? Like if that were at the nail salon, I was like, oh my gosh, but you got to get this, you got to, blah, 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 blah. And I was like throwing up Thrive, and they're like, like backing up, where if I'd be like, oh my gosh, let's connect, and, very calm, not the hyperactive puppy. And so that's, connect. That is huge, because people don't necessarily want to buy your product right now, but as they watch your journey, then they'll come aboard, and now you have ability to create a relationship and follow up with them.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, like one of the things, like, when like you're at the nail salon and they're talking about being exhausted or whatever, you can ask them, like, what do you do to have more energy? Because people will tell you they're drinking Monsters. They'll tell you they're drinking Diet Mountain Dew. They'll tell you they're drinking coffee all day, or they make trips to Starbucks. Let them tell you that, connect with them, and then offer a solution. Because I'm telling you, like, and be intentional. Like when you make a connection on Facebook, like you get someone connected on your Facebook, go put it in your notes what their first and last name is, so that you remember to follow up with them and say, oh, thanks so much for connecting, blah, 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 blah. Because sometimes you can make those connections. And if you don't document, you're like, oh my God, what's that person's name again? I've got 4,000 people on social media and I don't remember who that was that I need to follow up with. So be intentional for yourself too, for your follow up, but honestly, like I'm a shopper, as a lot of you may know. I make connections in retail all the time. And the reason why is because people hate working retail. Their feet hurt, they're exhausted, they got to work crummy hours. And so I'm constantly talking to the salespeople because a lot of times, I've got this luxury of being able to shop sometimes during the week, which is when I prefer now. And there's not a lot of people in the stores. So you have time to start these conversations. And people not only look for solutions for those aches, discomforts, weight loss, all that, but they're also looking for ways to make extra money. It's crappy to go to the grocery store now. I mean, it's crummy to get gas. I mean, I was so excited the other day because my grocery store gives you points for to use their gas pump, right? And I went and I had to put premium in my car. It's like $3.89, I think, a gallon for the premium. And because of my points, I got it down to like $1.81 a gallon. I was like celebrating. I filled my car for $30. Like that hasn't happened in years. And I was so excited. Think about if you had a solution to someone that could bring in an extra $30 a week, an extra $100 a week. Like, you have that for them. And that is not something you're going to throw up on them, but you do have a solution. And so when they start seeing you thrive out loud, and I'm telling you, if you're not showing up on social media, you're missing the boat. I'm sure you're frustrated. I'm sure you're feeling like you're not growing, but you have to show up on social media and you need to be making those new connections because that's where it's at. That's where it's at. It is what it is, whether you like it or not, whether you hate social media. Living your Thrive life out loud on social media and connecting people to your social media is how we are truly growing at rapid pace right now.
Well, and there's so much newness of social media. Like for those of us that started with, like MySpace and they're like, oh, now there's Facebook and then there's Instagram and then there's stories and then there's reels. It's that whole, and I still think this is the weirdest saying of all times. Jason says it all the time, but how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? I'm like, why would anybody want to eat an elephant? But that is like, that's how you take social media. It's just one step at a time, like post a story, post something on Facebook, work your way into reels, and you will slowly get used to it and get consistent with it and be like, woohoo, I'm a reels expert now. Like, it just depending on, just dig in, just dig in, just do the thing. Okay. Let's talk about this healthier, happier, slimmer version of you. Start like what started, obviously Elite. I think it was detox and then Elite. Like walk us through that and your mindset.
Yeah. It wasn't even, the detox would help me drop, additional weight, and always obviously feel better. So back in October, I realized how unhealthy I had really gotten. I had seen some pictures and I was like, ugh, and honestly, I had known I was going in the wrong direction for a while, getting older, like my metabolism slowing down, doing the same things, but actually gaining weight rather than maintaining. And I had been the same weight for years and I had gone up about 10 pounds. Well, actually it ended up being about 14 pounds from where I was consistently at, which wasn't a great weight to begin with. So I decided in October I need to do better. Well, that's about the time I'm back and forth to Florida and we go out to eat a lot and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't making the best decision. So from October to January 10th, I had lost 8 pounds. Okay. So, and then on January 10th, I had gotten home from Florida and decided I'm starting Thrive Elite and I'm going to do all the things and it's going to take as long as it takes for me to get this weight off. And that was truly my mindset. So January 10th started Elite, was feeling great. It did start to feel I'm super sensitive. So I ended up having to cut like the DFT in half. And then eventually I went to 1 regular capsule and 1 Elite capsule. Now I can take 2 Elite capsules and I feel that energy, but I didn't initially. So I kind of made modifications, always doing the Elite lifestyle mix with Boost, which is my favorite. Like I crave it. And I was doing intermittent fasting. And I started intermittent fasting with doing stop eating at 6 p.m. and I would start eating at 8 a.m. So it was a 14-hour fast. And that was working. And then all of a sudden I noticed that oh, I can go to, it's 9 o'clock. I can go till 9 o'clock. And I slowly started pushing that window more and more closed of the time I'm eating. So, and that took time. Like it's just been probably the last maybe 2 months that I stop eating around between 6 and 7. I'm never just exactly at 6, but I'll adjust my window accordingly. And then I start eating around noon. So, if it wasn't for Thrive Elite, I can tell you right now, I would not be able to only have a 6-hour eating window. And it's funny because, and if you're interested in that piece of it, the intermittent fasting with it, listen to Delay, Don't Deny. It's an Audible. It's super quick. A lot of her references at the end, like it looks longer than it is because she does references a lot of different books that she puts in at the end. But that helped me kind of change my mindset a little bit with that. And that Delay, Don't Deny. Also, she does like a 5-hour window. And I was like, this woman's nuts. Because at the time, I think I was doing, like, seriously, I think I was doing like a 10-hour or an 8-hour eating window when I first listened to it. But slowly over time, I was able to, increase my fasting time, decrease my eating window. But, it's some of those things where you think about like becoming a Lavelle millionaire and you're thinking, oh, I'll never do, how in the world would you ever do that? It slowly compounds over time. And that's exactly what happens with this. It slowly compounds, like all of a sudden I'm eating, between 6 or noon and 6. All right. Besides that, I was following the food list to the best of my ability, not saying that there wasn't any time. So from January to does drinking you can't fasting, just real quick, I won't be able to keep watching all this, but I'll let Amber watch the comments because I get really squirrely. But anytime you're fasting, pretty much all you can do is your capsules and your DFT. When you drink your lifestyle mix or any other kind of protein drink, or even Sculpt can break your fast. So you need to do that after the fact. So your capsules and your DFT you can do, and then break your fast with your lifestyle mix. So yes, there's a lot of time that I am having my life, on an empty stomach, and that works for me. I just make sure I drink a ton of water when I take those capsules so that I don't get acid reflux from it sitting here, right? So make sure you do that. So from January 10th to February 10th, had lost like 6 pounds, and then I gained it all back. So February 10th, I weighed the same as I did on January 10th because I was choosing super poor choices. And then, because you have to make change, right? Like Elite is not a magic pill. If you're eating ding dongs and ho-hos, I can promise you're not going to lose weight. Like stop eating the junk, modify your diet and do better. And so, then I started losing weight because I started changing. So when we go out to eat, I'd eat, grilled or blackened fish. I wouldn't eat fried fish. I would make these small choices and I would eat less. So making those healthy choices really helped. And also, as well as, let's see. Sorry, my phone's starting to beep on me. In fact, I'm going to shut this off so that I don't have that happen again. Okay. So, now I look back at, okay. So now, yeah, forget it. Anyway, so slowly coming off. And then on May 8th, I started with my daughter. We decided to do, a hundreds challenge, and we started doing daily crunches, push-ups, and leg lifts, 100 of each on each side. I would do it slowly and work my way up. And you guys, it started a transformation. Like, I don't like to work out. Amber and I were on the same page. Like, I'm not going to get sweaty. I don't like to work out. But this started transforming my body by toning up some of that muscle. And when you're losing, I've lost 48 pounds now. When you lose that much weight, like your skin starts to, if you're not doing anything else, then you feel a little soft. And so it has really helped change the, like how my muscles, I got muscles, it formed, and that happened. So anyway, long story short, you got to make change with your diet. You got to follow the list. It's not a magic pill, but dang it, it sure controls your appetite. And I am not as hungry during each meal, and I'm eating a lot less, which is fantastic. That took a long time to get to that point, but I'm there.
No, I love it because, these are good. One, this is good for us as thrivers to know if we want to better ourselves, right?
Mhm.
But also the tips and tricks that you've just told about Elite is really good for customer troubleshooting. And like, these are things is every day I learn something and I learn something new. And every Tuesday, I hope that somebody takes something, hopefully a lot of nuggets away. And I think that if I have notes, I hope all you have notes. Okay, so I will tell you, I'm this hunter's challenge, y'all. There's a group now from the Mastermind Ranch that they're like, oh, let's all do this challenge together. And I'm over here going, Sheila, I don't work out. And so I'm like, I feel myself being pulled into this challenge, and I'm like doing this whole like, I don't want to. So we'll see. I'll catch y'all up next week about that. Okay. But what I love is that you, like a lot of us, you made a plan. Like you said, I want to be healthier. I want to change this about my body, that kind of stuff. And you did it, right? You stuck in, you did it, you figured it out. And then along the way, ooh, I want to do some more changes. I want to get even healthier, And so guys, like, that's in your business, in your life, there's so much. Like, if you're like at a point where you feel plateaued in your business, step it up, step up your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you feel like you've plateaued in your weight, step it up. Like, what can you do to get better, eat better, whatever? Like, I know lately I haven't started like eating crappy again, but I have noticed that I'm slowly not eating as clean as I was, so I need to step that up. Like, that's my goal right now, is I need to get back to what was truly helping me and where I felt the best. So, okay, we'll kind of wrap this up. I think we're wrapping up early. What do you
I have
have?
a thought.
What?
I have a thought. And I think
Yes.
with
I
all
want
that,
all your thoughts.
all of it, whether it's business, whether it's weight loss, you got to go in with the mindset it's going to take as long as it takes. Because I tell you what, when I stepped on that scale on February 10th and I was at the same weight, I was ticked. I was mad. I was mad at myself. I had lost some inches though. So always take your measurements, put on that pair of jeans that takes you 5 minutes to get into because they're way too tight. Take the pictures. You don't have to show them to everybody. Take the pictures, because those milestones have been as rewarding as the scale milestones. And sometimes that scale is very deceitful. And so you want to have those other milestones, which is, taking your measurements and shrinking that way. And also, fitting in a pair of jeans or a dress or something that does not fit. So take those pictures, and then having that mindset, it's going to take as long as it takes. So when I stepped on that scale on February 10th and it was, actually the same as it was, I was like, you know what? I went back to the mirror and said, what are you not doing that you need to be doing to be on a weight loss journey? Because I think so often people think thrive, and you have to have these conversations with your customers and your promoters that are joining you on Elite too. And you got to say, you got to be willing to, make some diet changes, increase your water intake, and Elite is going to help with that. But it also takes work on your end, because the true, honest to God truth is, if they are still eating fried foods, chocolate, all the things, snacking constantly, they're not going to lose weight. It's not going to happen. And maybe they will, but it's not going to stay off as soon as they, now people ask me, when are you going to go off Elite? I'm like, I'm not. But I mean, some of your customers may want to get to their goal and go off, but they need to have good habits, or they'll never keep it off. And you don't want to set that roller coaster is horrible. I've done it my whole life. So you really don't want to set people up for that, but it's all right here. It starts here. My daughter told me in my journey, she's like, it's been great to watch you lose the weight, because you started a diet every Monday. And honestly, that's probably was more of a, fault on my end, that she knew I was starting a diet every Monday, because typically I'd failed by Tuesday. But when you put it in your mind, it's going to take as long as it takes. You jump back on that bike, right? Like, you get back on. We're not done yet. We aren't there yet. It's going to take as long as it takes. And it really takes that comparison piece out of it, because my journey, I've watched people lose weight much faster than I have. And so if I was comparing it, I'd maybe feel defeated. I do not feel defeated. I feel empowered by the choices I'm making. And that's what happens when you start to be consistent in your business, and you start to be consistent in anything you do, like a weight loss journey. When you start to take control back, with me, my food controlled me. My obsession with what was going in my mouth next controlled me. Now I control what's going in my body, and making that decision to be better And also in your business, when you can have that heart to heart to yourself and you're accountable to what you're doing every single day, you can go, you know what? I'm not doing my follow-ups. This is the problem. So it's keeping your eye on the prize and knowing it's going to take as long as you take. If you've been at 4K for years and you beat yourself up, no, you know how many people who would love to be at 4K? You know how many people who would love to hit 12K? Being consistent and empowering yourself to know that where you're at is fantastic. You can always do better, but don't compare yourself to the person that hit 200K in 5 days. Obviously that's not the truth, but you know what I mean? So, don't compare yourself to those people. Compare yourself. Let those people inspire you to do more and move your journey forward rather than backwards.
I love it. I do remember now what I was going to say way back when on this. It took a minute. But I because like what you just said about, give it a minute, like keep working, keep being consistent. Don't compare yourself. Guys, it's really hard, I think, for us because people look at us and think, oh, well, they're mega successful, blah, 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 all these things. And I think back to the first time, like you said, you weren't sure when you had your first team call. I think back to Maria told me and challenged me to record my story, but record my Thrive story. And she was speaking on it with me. Y'all, I had to stop and re-record that thing like 7 times. And I felt so bad. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, oh my gosh, I messed up. We have to start over. I'm so sorry. Like I kept, and Maria was so patient with me, so the thing is like, none of that just makes me laugh so hard thinking about that. None of us started where we are now, like not in our weight journey, not in our physical Thrive journey, not in our business journey. Nobody started this already mega successful, and so when you feel like, oh, I messed it up, or I can't believe I did that, like, trust me, we've done it.
Yeah, I agree with that, Amber. I remember starting my team call and I didn't do 3-way calls. Poor Maria had to do 3-way calls till I was 12K. But I started team calls and pretty early on, I wrote out every single word I said. I read every single thing because I was so nervous that I didn't want to say the wrong thing, that I sounded probably more like a robot. But I tell you what, preparation is key with anything. So that's why 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is so important, because it gives you the outline of what you're doing for every single day, right? You have an outline. Now preparation with your story, like you figure, but that gave you, maybe you had to do it 20 times, who cares? You learned how to share your story, and that gave you more confidence next time someone else asks you how to share your story. Preparation is always key. Knowing how to prepare for when you have to share, the first time you share your story live at a local, the first time you share your story with someone else. And we did not do everything right. I remember vomiting all over someone about having head discomfort and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? They didn't have head discomfort. They had disregarded what I had said in about the first 2 seconds of my spiel. But you know what? That's how you learn. It taught me, all right, say less, Sheila. Like, you don't need to tell them your whole life story in 2 seconds. Because truly, if you listen, I will tell you. But I didn't need to do that. And we learn by practicing. And like we were, when we recorded something, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, but you also can't say the right thing to the wrong person. It takes time. Those people need more watering, more information, more time. And so as we're closing this out, Amber, I'm going to say this. So I keep sales statistics up on my vision board at all times. And it reminds me daily of why I do follow up, why I do what I do every single day. That only 2% of sales are made on the first contact. Only 2%. Now this is sales in general. This isn't just what we do. This is sales in general, right? 80% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th contact. This is what it means, you guys. It means that people need information to make a purchasing decision. So it is our job through social media, through our follow-up, to continue to educate people on what we do, to continue to educate on what our products do, to continue to educate that, what is Thrive? Thrive is 3 simple steps. Show those things in your stories. Do that. Thrive out loud. it reminds us all the time that it's not because people hate us or hate Thrive. It's because they're not ready yet. So we got to continue to water those seeds, keep planting those seeds and water them daily so that we have growth. And doesn't mean you have to wait a month to follow up. No, it means that you need to wait, wait a few days, follow up with information. People won't always respond back. That's okay. Continue to water it, continue to grow. And that's exactly what we need to do.
I didn't respond back. I remember looking back, I felt so bad because if she said, "Hey girl, you ready to thrive with me yet?" I didn't know what to say because I wasn't ready and I didn't want to be rude and say no. So I was super polite and just didn't respond.
Yeah.
So, nobody knows, like they don't know, people don't know how to respond or how to act. And it's just, have lots of grace with your people. It doesn't mean they hate you. It doesn't, and if somebody unfriends you because they don't want to answer a Thrive message, bye. Like it's not, they didn't deserve to see my amazing post anyway. So, all right. Thank you so much, Sheila. I appreciate your time. I know everybody got some gold nuggets just like I did, and I'm super excited. Thank you, friend. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Bye, y'all.